I felt like lying down by the side of the trail and remembering it all. The woods do that to you. They always look familiar, long lost, like the face of a long dead relative, like an old dream. Can reading pull you out of your habits, interrupt your thought patterns, and give you a creative reset? Kind of like turning to a blank page and getting a fresh start. Whenever I travel to a new place, I feel like I'm dragged out of my own context. I'm no longer going through my daily routines at home, seeing the same people, eating the same food, watching the same shows at night, circling through the same thoughts. When my context has changed, I feel different, energized. I notice more. More Alive is a series where I seek out experiences that make me feel alive. It's inspired by the quote by Howard Thurman. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. In my first video, I talked about how that quote inspired me to leave my career as a software engineer to go all in on the arts. If you're interested in that story, I'll link it above. To start this series off, I wanted to give myself somewhat of a creative reset. What I really wanted was that first day of vacation, mug of coffee in hand, looking out over the ocean type of reset. But I had the feeling that books could also be a way to get out of my own context. So I decided to read 5 books in 5 days to see what would happen. Okay, I turned this into a school project. I have my notes right here. My first read was actually a listen, which meant that I walked for hours that day and I cleaned up a lot around the house while I was listening to the book. I think I clocked something like 15,000 steps. I do have a love-hate relationship with audiobooks though. For whatever reason, it's just harder for me to take in information that way. The first book is Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. This book is part of his Stoic Virtues series, and it explores discipline not as a restriction, but as a freedom. The ability to steer your life with clarity and purpose. He says, it's not about six-pack abs or the avoidance of all that feels good, but instead about developing the fortitude required for the path we have chosen. It's about being able to go the distance and steering clear of the blind alleys and mirages along the way. This kind of discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. Here's another quote that I really like. You don't always have to be amazing. You do always have to show up. What matters is sticking around for the next at bat. The ability to do that, coupled with the ability to endure what John Steinbeck called dawdly days while writing East of Eden. Those days when everything seems out of whack, when you're just not feeling it, when the distractions won't stop, this is the first step to greatness. One thing a day adds up. Each day adds up, but the numbers are only interesting if they accumulate in large quantities. He says there is no greatness without practice, lots of practice, repetitive practice, exhausting, bone-crunching, soul-crushing practice. And yet, what emerges from this practice is the opposite of those 3 feelings. Energy, strength, confidence. You deserve that. Yes, your body will burn, but that's the evidence. From that burning comes real heat. Heat you can apply to your craft, to your work, to your life. Discipline, in this light, becomes a kind of liberation. He says, discipline is how we free ourselves. It is the key that unlocks the chains. It's how we save ourselves. We choose the hard way because in the long run, it's actually the only way. In the end, it's not about results, it's about integrity, about giving everything you have to the gift you've been given. Another quote I love, what does matter is that you gave everything, because anything less is to cheat the gift of your potential, the gift of the opportunity, the gift of the craft you've been introduced to, the gift of the responsibility entrusted to you, the gift of the instruction and the time of others, the gift of life itself. I have a confession. I did not finish the book yesterday. I spent a couple of hours this morning reading it. Finally finished. Today is The House on Mango Street, and that's a short one, so I'm hoping the timing will end up working out. Day 2 was the more traditional, get cozy at home and spend hours curled up with an actual physical book. The House on Mango Street is a coming-of-age story told through a series of short, poetic vignettes. It follows a young girl named Esperanza as she grows up in a poor Chicago neighborhood. Her words, they're not always a direct description of what's going on in the story or in the scene, but they have the power to evoke something. Like they evoke feelings or memories from childhood. They're like spells or Zen koans or something. It's like this moment in childhood, you know it can't be described with words, but it can be felt, it can be remembered, and she can get you there. Through Esperanza's eyes, we see a world of tight-knit families, the dynamics and politics even of childhood friendships. We see limitation and longing. We see women who are trapped. There's a quote that goes, "She looked out the window her whole life, the way so many women sit their sadness on an elbow." Esperanza feels the urge to leave, to escape, to become something more than Mango Street. To become something more of what Mango Street expects of her. She says, let me find the quote. "I like to tell stories. I'm going to tell you a story about a girl who didn't want to belong. One day I will say goodbye to Mango. I am too strong for her to keep me here forever." And then there's this other quote I really like. "You can never have too much sky. You can fall asleep and wake up drunk on sky, and sky can keep you safe when you are sad. But here, there is too much sadness and not enough sky." Okay, one more. "I want to be like the waves on the sea, like the clouds in the wind, but I'm me. One day I'll jump out of my skin, I'll shake the sky like 100 violins." Oh, one more, I lied. This is the best insult. "You know what you are, Esperanza? You are like the cream of wheat cereal. You're like the lumps." I actually think that might be the best compliment because the lumps are the best. Cisneros captures moments of childhood that feel ordinary but big. Shyness, shame, discovery, laughter, connection, but also isolation. There's pain there, but there's a lot of joy. As she dreams of leaving, she promises to come back, to reach for something more, and then to give that back to others who, as she puts it, cannot out. Okay, this challenge is not going as planned. Again, I didn't finish day 2's book, so I am back at it today. I'm annoyed because I know I have enough time to get this all done, but I'm taking long breaks in between reading sessions and I'm filming other content and I don't know, it's just not happening and I'm frustrated. I was excited about this one. I read Oliver Burkeman's other book, 4,000 Weeks, a while back, and it really struck a chord in me. This was another audible listen. At its heart, this book argues that embracing your limitations, not overcoming them, is the key to a meaningful life. It's an invitation to stop waiting until you're more organized, more certain, or more in control before you really dig in and begin. To stop believing that life begins once the chaos settles, the inbox is cleared, or you've finally checked off the last item on your to-do list. Instead, Burkeman suggests that we turn toward life as it actually is, unfinished, unpredictable, and messy. This book is about how human life is finite. Only by acknowledging and surrendering to that fact can we actually live with meaning, focus, and joy. He says, "Your limitations aren't obstacles to a meaningful existence, which you must spend your days struggling to overcome en route to some imaginary point when you'll finally get to feel fulfilled. On the contrary, accepting them, stepping more fully into them is precisely how you build a saner, freer, more accomplished, socially connected, and enchantment-filled life." He writes that our modern efforts to gain control over everything, to master time, to stay productive, to predict what's coming next, actually strip our lives of the very feeling of being alive, which seems very appropriate for this series. Our ceaseless efforts to get into the driver's seat, this is a quote, to get into the driver's seat of life, seem to sap it of the very sense of aliveness that make it worth living in the first place. The days lose what the German social theorist Hartmut Rosa evocatively calls their resonance. The world feels dead, And for all our efforts to get more done, we find ourselves somehow less able to bring about the results we are seeking. There's this illusion that with enough optimization and planning, we can finally take charge of reality. But that kind of control never actually arrives. Life keeps spilling out around the edges of our plans. He also introduces this idea of a life task, something your particular life is asking of you. It's rarely tidy, it often doesn't align with conventional success or what other people expect of you, or maybe it does. It often doesn't rely on external approval. He urges you not to wait until you feel ready for this work. He says you won't feel like you know what you're doing, but nobody ever does. That's just how it is for finite humans attempting new things. The main difference between those who accomplish great things anyway and those who don't is that the former don't mind not knowing. They were not less flawed or finite than you. He urges us to not defer joy until some future circumstance. Joy has to be found right here, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of distraction, in the middle of imperfection. Another quote, "What additional satisfaction could you take in your life? What fun could you have once you glimpse that since life is so inherently confusing and precarious that joy, if it's ever to be found at all, is going to have to be found now in the midst of the confusion and precariousness." And paradoxically, it's only when we stop trying to do everything or be everything that we gain the clarity and energy to do what matters most to us. He says, the more willing you are wholeheartedly to acknowledge the hard limitations of human finitude, the easier it gets to do what others might dismiss as impossible. Once you stop struggling to get on top of everything, to stay in absolute control, or to make everything perfect, you're rewarded with the time, energy, and psychological freedom to accomplish the most of which anyone could be capable. In the end, I think this book is like a permission slip to live now, to show up unfinished, to let your limits be the starting point, not the enemy. This book really hit with me. I really struggled with the belief that I'm not ready yet, that I'm still becoming, that I need to learn more and do more, that I'm not enough yet. And I certainly struggle with the everything is a priority, including like unloading the dishwasher, which completely keeps my mind occupied and my stress levels high and kept me from remembering what matters most. This is where the challenge went really downhill. It took me 4 days to get through Meditations for Mortals. Life got in the way, but that's actually really poignant given what the book was about. Oliver Burkeman actually encouraged readers to read a chapter a day and not rush through the whole thing. This book is very much anti 5 books in 5 days challenges. Anyway, the fourth book is Dharma Bums by Jack Kerouac. I made a whole event out of this fourth book. I didn't know what I wanted to read, so I decided to go to a bookstore downtown and pick out whatever jumped out at me. And this bookstore, oh my gosh, it was the most enchanting place. I felt like I was in a movie or a fairy tale. So I read on the road a while back when I was making a cross-country trip. We were leaving LA to travel for a couple of years and spend time with family on the East Coast. I didn't love On the Road, to be honest, but there was something very right about reading it while we were making this cross-country trip, driving through dusty, abandoned towns off the highway, staying in less than ideal hotels. I put Dharma Bums on my list around this time, but I only remembered it when I saw it again at the bookstore, so it seemed serendipitous, and that's how I chose the book. So this book is semi-autobiographical. It follows Jack Kerouac's alter ego, Ray Smith. It's about his journey in every sense of the word. It's about hiking barefoot through the Sierra Nevadas, meditating on mountaintops, getting drunk at poetry readings in San Francisco, sleeping on friends' floors, and riding trains across the country. Underneath all of that movement, though, there is this deeper search for meaning, for simplicity, for joy that doesn't rely or depend upon societal success. It's a celebration of rebellion. Ray's friend, Jaffe Ryder, I think that's how it's pronounced, is based on the real poet Gary Snyder, and he serves as a guide into Buddhism, nature, and nonconformity. Through him, Ray discovers that enlightenment isn't about detaching from the world, but about waking up to it. Kerouac writes with his signature spontaneous prose. It's chaotic, it's raw, and it's a little bit unsettling, at least to me. And this summary is incomplete because I have yet to finish the book. I failed at this challenge. I didn't even start the 5th book. And honestly, I'm not sure if the challenge even made sense to begin with. I guess that's a very imperfectionist thing of me to say. This is me surrendering to my limitations, acknowledging that I don't have to check off the entire list. That might not even be possible for me. I don't have to do that before I can enjoy the experience at hand, before I can enjoy the books that I was able to read, the reset that I was able to take. I think this challenge was built on an old assumption that I need to do more, be more, prove more. The books themselves asked me to do the opposite. Or the act of reading, had me doing the opposite. It had me slowing down, paying attention, letting it all be unfinished, and letting that be enough. Reading definitely did pull me out of context. It put me into the minds of others. But what sticks out about this challenge is the way the world around me slowed down and became much more vibrant and engaging, even when I was just hanging out doing nothing. The best way I can describe it is like a camera zooming in and focusing on all the details that you would have missed from a more zoomed out perspective. Everything comes into focus and there's so much more to see. When I'm racing through moments, scrolling through my phone, or thinking about something else, generally just being stressed or distracted, I miss the details, and experience seems emptier and time flies by. That sounds a lot more dramatic than I mean. Long story short, I just like the slower pace of living that reading forced me into. It forced me into the slower lane. 10 out of 10 recommend. If you have any recommendations for the 5th book, leave them in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Next episode, I'm really excited because I'll be going on a solo camping trip for the first time. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'm just starting out on YouTube and any interaction really does help me a lot. It helps push out these videos to more people that might be interested in them. See you next time.
Free, I'm reaching out, guide me through, show the way.